What's up, y'all? I am here. I know we're just getting started and we got to wait for people to start joining. But in the meantime, I just want to say, what's up? We are back, y'all. It's Angelique Pierce. Y'all know, I know we ended it last year on a major conversation about choosing you in 2022. But here we are in 2022. Like, we're here. Ain't no more waiting for it. Ain't no more talking about it. We are now in January 2022. It is the new year. So again, Angelique Pierce, I am the founder of Ladder Masters Inspirational Leadership Group, better known as Ladder Masters. This is my weekly domestic violence awareness podcast. Yep, nobody want to talk about it, but I'm here talking about it, and I got a special lady with me here tonight to talk about it. So I'm super excited. Y'all saw the flyers. Don't act like you didn't know. I'm still waiting for some of y'all to join, but let's get this party started. So here we go. This is episode number 31, y'all. Like, I can't believe I've done this 31 other times. Like, I think this is kind of awesome. Here we are at episode number 31. And this one is titled Starting Strong in 2022. And I mean, we have to. There's so many things that try to keep you down, that try to stress you out, that try to get you off focus. But nah, that's not happening. We are starting strong in 2022. And that is for every victim, for every survivor of domestic violence, for every advocate. Because trust me, we get tired sometimes too. That's for all of us. So starting strong in 2022. And like I said, I got a special guest here. But y'all know me, there's certain things I do before I get into my podcast, right? I say a few things. One of those things is a prayer. But before I do my prayer, I want to bring on my special guest because we've been preparing and she's in the back waiting, y'all. she's in the back waiting. And I can't wait to bring her on. Y'all, I mean, is it just me or are y'all ready? You like ready to meet her? I think you might be ready to meet her. All right, y'all ready? Ready, steady, as my kid says. Ready, steady, go. Unmute yourself, Laura.
Hi,
It's
Angelique.
Laura Moseley. Hey, beautiful. How are you?
I am doing great. How are you?
I am doing great too. So now listen, this whole time I was getting all ready and I'm like, there's a certain song that I want to hear because it gets me all excited. And I'm gonna play a little bit of it, just the instrumental, because and hopefully y'all can hear it because this is how I feel right now. I'm gonna let y'all talk to Laura. I promise. I'm gonna let y'all talk to Laura, but I just feel a certain way. So hopefully y'all can hear it. Listen. If you wanna listen, y'all, domestic violence is no joke. We know it. But the song says, I'm fine, right? I'm doing just fine. Woo! It makes me excited, y'all. There's so many things. Like, I get very excited when it's time to talk about something. Yeah, it's hard to talk about this, Laura,
Oh, yeah.
It's it's hard to talk about it. But you know what? If we didn't talk about it, if nobody talked about it, what would happen? It just keeps going on, right?
Right. People keep talking or, whispering about it, but not really doing anything about it. Like it's the elephant in the room.
It's the elephant in the room. And guess what? A lot of times people don't even know. We're gonna get into this tonight too. A lot of times people don't even know what they're going through is categorized as abuse.
Exactly.
It's called domestic violence. And that's some of the stuff we're gonna fix. So Laura, before we get started, as people are joining, before we get too far into this, I want to make sure that we say a quick prayer because to
Absolutely.
me, that's super important. I always want to invite God's spirit into these moments because I don't want to say anything that He doesn't want us to say,
Right.
but I also don't want to leave anything out that He needs us to say. So that's
Exactly.
important to me. So if you will join me, I see some people coming on. Hey, listen, if you will stop for a moment and share this episode, because we are about to get into a conversation. First of all, the prayer, but we're about to get into a conversation that is much needed. And we're going to take our time tonight. And if we got to go till 8:15, we're going to go till 8:15 because there are some things I want to make sure you specifically say. you say tonight. All right.
Mhm.
So let me just say this quick prayer with you. Let's bow our heads. God, we just come before you, thanking you for yet again another chance to invite you into this conversation, because without you, who are we anyway? God, there are victims all over this world, not just this country, but all over this world that need to hear this message of liberty and of freedom and of change, God. Yes, this is a new year. And I know change doesn't only happen at the beginning of a year, but isn't it a wonderful time to start? It's the beginning, right? So, God, I just ask you right now, in honor of every victim of domestic violence, in honor of every survivor of domestic violence, we thank you for the courage, for that courage that they need to get out or that they use to get out. And God, we thank you for that strength that will help them, the strength and wisdom, as my mom would say, the strength and wisdom to help them stay out. We thank you for all these things in the name of Jesus. We pray. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. So, God, I just thank you for this moment with Laura. We about to get to know you, girl. Don't be all shy neither now.
No worries. I know I always pray before I speak to anybody. I want to make sure
Yes.
that he blesses me with the right thing to say and that I'm in the right place for somebody that needs to hear it. So
It's so important. Did you want to add to the prayer? Because I just said amen, but did you want to add anything to that
I
prayer?
think that was perfect. Like I said, just bless us and make sure that we, say the right things that people need to hear in this moment.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We already got somebody on. Look, okay, that's Sophie. She said,
Oh,
can you see it?
I
Blessings
do.
to both of you amazing women. Sophie, thank you for
Thank
joining
you.
tonight. So we're going to get right into this. We are just fine. Fine. So, but listen, y'all, I like to talk the serious stuff. This is what we do on this podcast. I get it. However, we gotta learn a couple things about Laura. This is when I get nosy, right? I know how to get, as we say, we get nosy in Philly.
Right.
So I want to get you to share just a little bit about you, right? So we
Okay.
can kind of figure out who you are and the stuff that people can't see just from, looking at you, right?
Right.
So let's start
Right.
with where you're from. Uh,
I
let's start with that.
Okay. I'm from Madison, Indiana. If anybody wants to know where that is, if you imagine the state of Indiana like a boot, we're in the arch right there on the Ohio River.
Yep.
It's beautiful. Um, and I couldn't ask for a more beautiful place to raise my children. I'm a mother of three. Two of
Yeah.
them are adults. One of them is a 15-year-old teenage boy, and I'm about to be a grandmother of one due in March.
I saw
So
your eyes pop open like, woo, teenager.
Yeah, teenagers. No, I adore teenagers. I was a school teacher, for teenage girls
Yeah.
and incarcerated teenage girls, and they were the most fun group. I know that doesn't sound like the most fun group, but they were the most fun group, of individuals that I ever was ever blessed with, and my favorite job. But I work for a customer service organization, a federal one. We're not supposed to name it on
Get that.
air,
Totally get that.
but I'm a customer service rep, so I work in a social services organization.
Yep.
So I get to help people every day, which is
Yep.
awesome, awesome.
Yeah. Hopefully, well, it might not have been you, but somebody like you probably helped me in my time. So I'm gonna tell you that right now. So okay, that's cool. You got a job, you got
I
the
do.
baby, the family. Now I'm not in the sport, so I couldn't tell you what team is in Indiana. I'm not even going to even pretend to know.
I used to follow the Indianapolis Colts. I have
Okay.
not in some years, so don't worry about it. Actually, I'm more interested these days in besides staying home when you have to isolate for the pandemic. I'm a
Yep.
homebody anyway.
Yep. Me too.
Um, I read, I write, I work on a blog and
Yep.
write articles. But when we get to go out, we go to concerts and
Yeah.
have a good time.
Yep.
Um, dated,
Oh, wait, we're gonna get to that. Hold on. Let's
okay,
talk about
sorry.
that. Because when you're not working, you are at things like concerts. But see, now I gotta understand, we're talking about music, and I love
Yes,
music. All right.
music concerts.
So when you're not at work or not being a mom, you are out, you are probably at a concert. And what kind of music are we talking about now? Now, what's on repeat in your playlist? What kind of concerts are you going to? Like what?
Oh, gosh, I love everything. My favorite is 80s rock. I love the 80s. I grew up in the 80s. Um,
Me too. Mine was more
so
like hip hop, Run DMC. I don't know. It was
absolutely. I mean, if you look at my iPod, I have everything from Run DMC to, gosh, Britney Spears
Yeah.
to AC/DC and Alice Cooper, Tchaikovsky. It just my kids
Let's
look at
see.
my
I don't
my kids
have
look at it.
I don't have Tchaikovsky. I
Okay.
know who Tchaikovsky is, but I don't
Yeah.
have Tchaikovsky in my playlist.
I have a very eclectic taste, so if it appeals to me, I will listen to it, and
You know what? I will say this though. My munchkin, my daughter, when she wants to go to sleep, if she's struggling, she'll like tell Alexa to turn on sleep music or and it'll be that kind of music,
mhm,
so she can fall asleep to that classical music.
me
So
too.
it is amazing. I'm like, okay, maybe I taught her something right. So Run DMC to Tchaikovsky to Britney Spears. We all over the place.
All of it. I have ADD when it's comes to music. But, I just if it appeals to me, if it resonates with me,
Yeah.
Kesha or,
Oh
um
yes, she is awesome.
oh, she's amazing.
Oh
You
my gosh.
know,
I'm sure you heard her song Praying then, right?
oh, yeah, that's love it.
It's
I heard that
intense.
and cried the first time I
Uh-huh.
heard it.
I
So
was like, "That's me. That's
mhm,
me." And when I first got out, that was me. Oh my gosh. So this is awesome. So listen, if you're on, I know it's Sunday, y'all thinking about getting back to work after the holiday. Oh, there's always
yeah,
time for that. There's always time for that. So if you haven't yet shared this post, make sure you share it. It is a live feed. It's going on Facebook, on my personal page, on my business page. It's on LinkedIn. It's on YouTube. Wherever you need to watch it, whatever you're doing, make sure you share it because we got a message here with Lauren. It's going to be a great discussion. Much needed. Listen, y'all, it is called starting strong in 2022. And I know there was a point in time where neither Laura nor I felt strong. And
exactly.
tonight we are going to challenge some of the assumptions of what strength is and what it means to be strong. So let's get into your stuff now. Here's my first, well, I guess technically my second question. A lot of survivors, like I asked this question because everybody's got their thing. They've got the thing that moves them or their why, that their golden why, right? So a lot of survivors are afraid or even ashamed to get in front of people and share their story and then put it on something that could be replayed, right?
Mhm.
So what is it about this that makes you say, I have got to tell my story. I have got to talk about this and share.
Well, I've learned every time I talk about my story, it has a less and less of a hold on me
Yeah.
because the more I speak it, the more it no longer hides in the dark. It comes to light.
Yes.
I used to be really afraid that my abuser would hear my story. Now, if he did, it's not as big a deal to me. I mean, I
It's
would
shame on
prefer he
him,
didn't.
right?
Yeah, exactly. Because he would just kind of look like an ignoramus trying to
Mhm.
respond to that because I don't name him.
Right.
Uh, Kind of like Harry Potter, he who shall not be named. But
Right.
nobody has the right to bully another person.
Nobody.
And I mean, we're trying to
Nobody.
teach our kids that in school, but when they come home and see dad doing it to mom or mom doing it to dad, that sends a confusing
Mhm.
message too. But
Yep.
I don't want anybody to be trapped by lies and mistruth because so many abusers tell you nobody will ever want you. You can't do it without me.
Yep.
I'm here to tell you there are plenty of people that want to see you well
Come on.
and happy and there you can make it without them. You have
Yes.
to think outside the box sometimes, but you can.
And here's the thing, they try to cripple you so that you really believe that. Meaning
Exactly.
we're gonna talk about this, right? Your money is screwed up.
Oh
You've
my.
probably been late to work so many times
Oh
or
yeah.
drama at work so much that you almost lose your job.
Mhm.
Whatever happens with the car, they steal the car keys, they take your money. They
Dismantling
try
the
to
car. Hmm.
they try to dismantle your entire life.
Right.
They try to basically paint a picture of you to other people so people will see you in a different light. So
Right.
that when you actually look up and think he or she is right. I won't make it without them
Right.
because they put you in this world, their world of darkness that you now believe might be true. It's not true.
Mhm.
It's
Right.
not true. It's not true. So that's why you thank God because it's like God, I know who you. Sophie always says this. I am fearfully and wonderfully made.
Exactly.
And oh my gosh. So all right, she put a comment in here. We must have been saying something she liked. She said, "Come on, girl." Amen to that. So all right. So this episode is titled Starting Strong in 2022. Now, A lot of people will associate strength and being strong with this whole acting tough thing, right? If I
Mhm.
act tough, then people will think I'm strong, right? Or if I'm unemotional and I show no emotion, that must be strong.
Mhm.
I don't believe that. What you think? What you think? What do you
I
think being strong is?
um just being strong is moving forward.
Mm,
And sometimes it's an inch at a time, sometimes it's a foot at a time, sometimes it's a yard. It just varies. But,
I agree.
I don't I'm just not speaking for myself. I'm sure you have. How many times have you cried and got it all out and then wiped your tears, redid your makeup and went into work,
It has,
like
mm,
nothing ever happened?
mm,
Just because there's that doesn't mean there's an absence of fear being strong.
yep.
It means, you know what? I'm scared, but I know I still have to do this. I have people depending on me. I have to do this or I'll if I it's like a shark. If I quit moving, I'll die.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
that to me is strength. People that don't give up, people that go, okay, well, this direction didn't help, so I'm going to try this direction, but they're
Mm,
still moving forward. That's
mm.
strength to me.
That is strength. I love it. I don't know what this is. Somebody just put a post on from my YouTube channel. I'm not sure what via. I don't know what that means, but yeah, I don't know what that means. But Sophie said, "Amen." so,
Amen.
so,
Maybe that's what that means too. I don't know.
so I'm gonna read something. I found this. It's another writer, and they go by the name Thought Catalog, or part of a
Oh,
bunch of
yeah, they're
series of
great.
writings. Yeah.
Mhm.
So this particular one, they talk about what being strong really means because it's more than just being unemotional is the name of it. And
Mhm.
so they are, she says, being strong means you actually know what it's like to be weak, to feel you have something to compare it to, is what she's saying. How do you know you're
Exactly.
strong if you've never been weak? How
Mhm.
do you know you're strong if you've never been helpless? Or you've never been tired of life or the burdens or whatever. So she says to feel like you're tired of life and its burdens, yet you still wake up every morning hoping for a better day, right? Being strong means asking for help because you're aware that you can't do it alone.
Mhm.
Don't we know that?
Yeah.
Being strong means letting people in no matter how many times you've been hurt because you're not afraid of trying again. Like
Exactly.
it's that stuff. And it goes on and on and on. And I was just like, I love that because it puts a different perspective on what strength is. It doesn't mean, can I overpower you physically? Sure, that's
Mhm.
physically strong, but what
Sure.
about this strong?
Exactly, and I know I can't tell you how many nights I went to sleep having to sleep next to somebody that just declared to love me so much that but, you know, abusing me so badly, how
Right.
I'd go to sleep so defeated and
Yeah.
go so exasperated, and then I'd wake up next morning inspired by something that God put into my into me, and it's just waking up going, "You know what? I will try this. I'm gonna
Yep.
try this.
Yep.
It's gonna be brilliant or it's gonna go down in flames, but I'm gonna do it."
But I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it.
And that's about all you can do. That's all you get to the point where that's about all you have.
Hmm.
I mean, you can give up and curl up into a ball, but that's the end game. You're done.
Yes.
Or you have to keep moving. Um,
Mm.
you have to keep emerging, reinventing yourself if you have to. Um, it doesn't matter. I can't tell you how many times since my final, encounter that I've had to start over on jobs.
Mm.
You get to a certain age and you're like, "Oh, I won't work for less than this. I can't do this." Actually, if you have to start over, you have to start completely
I
from
have to.
the ground floor.
Ooh, that was one of my things I felt thankful for, that I didn't have to start completely from the ground floor because I almost lost it all.
Right.
Almost lost it all, Laura. You know.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
And, sometimes God knows when you're not giving him 100%. So when
Yeah.
you go, "Okay, I'm gonna give it to you, God, but I can only let go of 85%." If you don't give
Hmm.
it all, I mean, essentially, and I can only speak for myself, but I think this will resonate with other people. If you hit rock bottom and you have to give him 100% of your faith and your fears and all of that.
Mm.
Once you do that, things start to happen in your favor. But
Ooh.
he knows when you're not gonna give it all to him because I know a lot of victims and survivors that are control freaks. I was a control freak because we would control as much as we could
As you could,
control,
because everything
and
else is out of your control.
exactly.
Yeah.
So, it's like, "Okay, I'm gonna give this to you because I got nothing else." It
Mm.
is it is all for you. And
Mm,
that's when things started happening, and it doesn't always start in the best way. It
yes.
doesn't always start positively,
Yes.
but it can end positively if you
Mm,
allow it to do so. So, and I, I agree that he puts people in your lives that you need for a season, a reason, or a lifetime. So,
absolutely.
people that you come across are supposed to be there. So,
Mm,
I just feel like,
yeah. You're 100% on. You are on it. Sophie, being strong. She is on it tonight. Being strong. You must, because this is what you said, is moving forward even though you're afraid.
exactly.
Even though you're afraid. So strength and courage doesn't mean there's not something, there's the absence of fear. It means you're
No.
doing it in spite of in the face of fear.
Mhm.
That's what that is.
Absolutely.
In the face of it, you're still doing it. Oh my gosh. I just want to challenge. Listen, if you are on here, you haven't shared this yet, please make sure you do, because there are a lot of people that need to hear these kinds of messages. Yeah, we're about to talk about Laura's story, and some of that stuff is painful. I mean, oh, stuff that I didn't even go through, right? That I just listen and I go, wow, like, thank you for being strong. Because now well, I won't tell too much, but you're doing things to help others,
Mhm.
right? Realize that they are special,
Absolutely.
unique, and strong. So, all right, so let's get into it. Thank you, Sophie. Um, so you survived domestic violence. I
I
did
did.
as well, right? The
Mhm.
flyer on there talks about these more than the 23 years of it. If you
Mhm.
add it all, if you put it all together, right? Think of the whole
Exactly.
picture. So let's go back to the early part, because we all know how they all are. They're amazing, right? They're
Mhm.
amazing in the beginning,
Oh,
right?
yeah. Oh,
So how'd you meet them? And how was the relationship in the beginning?
I was, let's see, 18 years. I think I just turned 18 years old. I was a senior in high school. I went to work at a plant nursery that my then boyfriend was working at. Of course, he decided to dump me for another girl who didn't end up going out with him. So I
His
started
loss.
talk. Yeah, exactly. Um, I started talking to my future husband.
Right.
He seemed shy and very sweet and funny. Oh, I love people who are funny and witty and just charming. He had he was just very sweet and he was little Prince Charming. I mean, he didn't have a lot of money.
Right.
So if I worked on a Saturday and I got a lunch break and I'm like, so what are you eating for lunch? Oh, I'm not hungry. He
Yeah.
didn't have the money. So, it's back when Taco Bell had the 6 pack of tacos, 10 pack, 12 pack. I'd buy a 6 pack, eat 2 of them and give him the rest of them,
No.
kind
That's
of
that
thing.
good heart. That's that good heart.
And, we started talking and wanted to go out on a date. And he was 2 years older than me, lived with his brother. They were batching it.
Mhm.
So I didn't think my parents would approve, so I didn't tell them,
Yeah.
and ended up staying out all night, got into a little bit of trouble with that, but long story short, we continued to date secretly.
Uh-huh.
I found out I was, pregnant,
Yeah.
and, we decided to get married, and that's what my parents had kinda said too, you need to get married, make it this a legitimate thing, even though we're not exactly happy about it.
Yeah.
Um
Mm.
But, my parents have always been very supportive of me.
Yep.
I'm glad to say, they were they're best friends. They've been married for years, still are.
Yeah.
And, so I had this incredible childhood and I had this incredible example of what marriage should look like. They would tag each other in. I'm the oldest. I was a troublemaker. Okay, I can't deal with Laura today. Here, I'm gonna tag you in, you deal with her.
Tag.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what I thought marriage should be.
Yep.
So we got married a few months later, had our now oldest child, our son, and life was okay. We were broke, struggling. He got into financial trouble when I had to be off with the baby because he couldn't maintain,
Yeah.
even though we made plans and things like that.
Yeah.
So we had to move in with his mother, had to move from Tennessee to Indiana,
Mhm.
which was not, it was traumatic for me because I'd never been away from my parents
Yep.
like that. I mean, living a few miles away versus
States
hundreds of
away,
states
right?
away was devastating, but I did it not realizing, until later on. He was isolating me early on. So I had to live with his mom. And, that's always fun living with your mother-in-law.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
we did have to come to a kind of an understanding. She tried to kick me out once or twice because she, also met a strong woman, and,
Uh,
so, eventually we had a few years went by, we had saved enough money, but before that, the first incident of violence with
yeah,
him
yeah.
was when my baby turned 18 months old. Um, he got physical with me. His brother lived out of town with his fiance,
Mm,
and would come to visit, and these two men would disappear like children and be gone. I mean, they could be gone till midnight.
this is
Uh,
so familiar.
uh, I mean, his brother would come visit and they'd stay the weekends, but they could be you couldn't plan anything. You couldn't plan dinner, you couldn't plan anything. They'd go to the bar, they'd disappear.
They
We
just
don't
do
know.
whatever.
Yeah, we don't know what they were doing.
And
Um,
you were supposed to stay where you were,
right,
taking care of that baby right there.
right.
Yes. Mhm.
And I mean, luckily his fiance and I would do things. I mean, she and the mother-in-law and I would play games, or we'd play with the baby or whatever. But
Oh, so
on this
familiar.
particular day, you know, j and I'm very sarcastic, I have been my whole life, but I made a remark, um, they were getting ready to go, they just gotten there. Luckily, we ate beforehand or we would have starved to death. We had to wait
Right.
on them. I just made a remark, about, just don't be gone all day, okay? Something innocent, something I
Mhm.
mean, I think I even said it in that tone.
Mm.
Not a big deal. He got so enraged. He grabbed me by my
Love that.
shirt,
Yeah.
although he got some of my skin, some of my breast tissue, picked me up and slammed me up against the wall. So not only
And
am
let
I
me just be clear, this is in front of all the people that you named earlier?
no,
No.
we were in our bedroom in
Oh,
his
okay,
mom's
okay,
house,
okay.
and he did that. Never had done anything like that before. I mean, we'd had our bickering arguments, or he might
Mm,
get in my face and shove me, or, just things that you don't think about when you're first married. You're getting used to each other and their quirks and how you were raised and all of that. So that never, this is what sticks in my mind as the first
yeah,
incident.
yeah.
Excuse me.
'Cause he
And
actually grabbed you to the point where he caught some skin, right?
yes,
He's in
and he clenched his fist so tight as he's holding me up, and my feet are dangling. I mean, I'm
mhm,
5'2", so I'm short
mhm.
anyway. Um, so he told me he didn't like my smart mouth. He didn't want to hear it. He could do what he wanted. I wasn't his mommy, and then just dropped me and let me fall in a crumpled mass on the floor, and walked out and got in the vehicle with his brother and left.
And moved on, didn't he? And left you
Yeah.
there to figure it out, like, what just happened?
Thankfully, my child was taking a nap, but my sister-in-law's like, "Where is she at?" Comes in my bedroom, sees me crying, just sobbing uncontrollably.
Mm,
Luckily, she hugged me, and she had always been a great person, even after,
mhm,
loved her to death. So told me it was gonna be okay, and it was nice having somebody there to talk me through it, but,
right.
when they got home that evening, she told me I needed to confront him, I needed to tell him how that made me feel, and I wasn't gonna put up with that, and she was certainly right, but after that episode, I'd never seen that side of him.
Mm,
I wasn't gonna poke the bear.
mm, mm,
And
mhm,
I never
mm.
said anything to him. I mean, it was just an awkward next couple of days,
I
but
bet it was because, I mean, nothing was resolved, right? It
no.
happened, and all of a sudden, it's back to normal, nobody's
Right,
right? Very
right.
awkward. Can you think of, other moments that were, like, further into the relationship or whatever that were scary or just painful moments that you were like, "I know I am in abuse, I am being hurt, I'm being" like, what are those other moments? Some of them.
Um, I mean, there were periods we eventually moved out of his mom's house, and got our own place. I mean,
Yep,
there were other moments where, I mean, and not all of it was physical, but
yep,
when he would get aggressive and,
yep,
like a stand, get nose to nose with you, poke you in your chest or
yep.
things like that. But, most of it was verbal and, um, emotional. But I
Yeah,
mean, there were times where he would, you know dismantle the car to make sure I didn't get to work on time, or, um, I mean, there's an incident where I had my youngest one. He wasn't planned. I mean, none of them were really.
Yeah.
And, I had to have a C-section with that one. I mean, he so tortured me with that pregnancy that, he, would just I'm surprised I didn't have the child early. I had to have a C-section. I had a lot of health issues with him, gestational diabetes. So I had to monitor my blood sugar and eat a certain way. And the babies were never real until I saw them on the final
Mm.
ultrasound or they were born.
Oh my
So,
gosh.
yeah, so the C-section is horribly painful. If anybody's ever had a C-section, I mean, they cut you, I mean, in layers. You got your skin, your fat layer, your muscle, and then of
Mm.
course your uterus to get this baby out. And so they send you home. I mean, I was hospitalized for 3 days.
See, and what you said was the baby wasn't to him. You were pregnant. That was on you. But
Yeah,
until
I was
he
I was
arrived,
fat.
right, right.
So, and once the baby was born, um when you have a C-section, it's just so you can't get up by yourself. You can't pick the baby up on your own.
Mm.
And you're on medication, pain medication, because you're healing in layers. So when we got home, it was nice having nurses wait on me, and I'm trying to breastfeed this baby and take care of my 2 other kids, and so when we got home, my pain medication disappeared. And I was trying to figure out, "Oh my gosh, where is it at?" And I have my oldest was then 13, and he said, "Mom, dad took it."
Mm.
And I'm like, "Are you sure?" Because at first I go, "Are you sure you didn't
First of all, I
take
can't
it?"
believe he saw it. That's the first thing. He saw it happen,
Well,
right?
yeah, and I said, "Are you sure you didn't take any?" Because 13, you just wanna think, "No, they didn't do that,"
Right.
but, you have to ask, and he's like, "No, dad took it." And I had to think about, "Okay, I need to call the police." Well, I can't do that. They'll arrest him, and he's the only one earning right now, and
Right.
if I ask for another prescription, they'll think I sold it or I took
Right.
it all, or so I had to heal for 6 weeks without pain
See,
medication.
this is what I'm listen, hold on. For the people that just joined, let me just back up and tell you this is the stuff that's the things that people don't necessarily think about, Laura. Right? Everybody's so
Mhm.
prepared for, oh, did he hit her? Was her nose bleeding? Did he bust her lip? Well, wait a minute, y'all. I want y'all to take a step back. There are many other types of abuse,
Control.
many other. So the fact that you had a child, a grown man, he is very aware of how painful a C-section is. Okay, nobody's stupid here.
I would
He
hope he's
knew,
aware, but
you know, he would get a sense, right? It's a
I would think
surgery,
so.
right?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah.
He knew you needed that medicine, and to take it from you and to let you suffer, that alone, that to me, yeah,
Well, I always
yeah,
I always wondered, I mean, he and the and I didn't realize until much later on, he was an addict. Was an alcoholic.
yeah,
He still is,
yeah.
sadly. But, so he took it. I always wondered what he did with it. I mean,
Because he was a drinker, not necessarily a pill popper.
he did whatever he
You like
thought
now,
would
you like
benefit.
thinking back to it. I don't know.
He did whatever benefited him. I mean,
Yeah,
when he was a teenager, he struggled with drug addiction,
yeah,
and I knew that, but, I thought he kinda always made that sound like it was in the past. Well,
yeah,
I don't think it
yeah.
was. I mean, I don't know if he gave it away, I don't know if he sold it, I don't know what he did with it.
Mm,
And then,
man.
this kind of I was already starting to go that way. This led to, postpartum depression, to the point where I couldn't get out of bed. And, I had an 8-year-old making me grilled cheese, trying to get me to eat because I hadn't eaten for 2 days. I mean, I'd make sure the baby would eat, but I lost huge chunks of time in that time.
I bet you did.
So, it made it hard. And when I went back for my checkup, oh, he made sure I got to my checkups on time,
Mm,
but they put me in a room by myself. I think it was 2 weeks after. It was me and the baby, of course, and
mhm,
the nurse comes in and they do this checklist for depression, and I apparently
mm,
failed mine,
mm,
because I felt like a zombie. Um, but I think it's because I had so many emotions going into having this baby and
Yep.
afterwards and him taking something, and I think I made myself numb, and that's how I got through the pain because it was so painful. I wouldn't wish this pain on anybody. Um,
And then you try to reach out to a doctor and say, because it's like, what do you say? Because if I tell that my pills are gone, because they're
yeah.
not going to just write you another one, they're going to think
No,
there's a problem anyway,
no.
right?
Right. So, I mean, they're checking the incisions and stuff, and well, after I failed that, the nurse came in with the doctor,
Mm,
and she's like, I need to talk to you. Is it okay if I talk to you by yourself?" Meanwhile, he's wondering why he can't go back there, and they're like,
mhm.
we're examining her lady parts." That's exactly what I heard the nurse tell him, which
Right,
is hilarious. They weren't, but
right.
they wanted me by one-on-one by myself, and I did get to talk to the doctor. I told her what was going on,
Mm,
and she goes, "Okay, well, I'm gonna give you some medication." She
mm.
and she took, I guess, when reps would give out medication, they wanted to start me on medication, but I said, "He's not gonna take it. Take
Yeah.
me to the pharmacy, and he's gonna end up taking that too," because I told
Yes.
her he took it,
Yes.
and she's like, "Okay." She said, "I want you to take this medication, and you're gonna come back in a month, and we're gonna see how you're doing on it, and, and if you don't
Mm.
take it, I'm gonna have to involve DCS and the police." And I said, "I'll take it, but I'm just gotta figure out what I'm gonna do with it so he doesn't find it."
He doesn't find it.
Um, because I think he liked having a slightly crazed wife that, he could
You
do
were in it. I
whatever,
mean,
you
yeah.
know?
It's
Uh,
that kind of stuff right there. It's that stuff right there that just, it's
right.
that little sadistic, okay, I may not put you in pain, but or myself, but I'm gonna let you be in pain.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
It
You
is
know
it
what?
is very sadistic, and so I ended up hiding those pills in my feminine products because he's not gonna touch that.
See,
Um
this is what I mean, right? There's
Right.
a there's there when I think about the stuff that we call strength,
Mhm.
right? People associated with certain things. But think
Mhm.
about that. It's okay. I'm in this situation and it's gotten to this point where it's bad
Right.
enough where all these things have occurred. So now how do I survive in it? That
Mhm.
alone is it's little things like that. It's the women who figure out how to hide money and stitch it to different things and to
Mhm.
whatever in a closet and old clothes or whatever it may be, right? Even that is strength and that people don't think about it that way. So anyway, kudos to you for sticking it where you put the medicine where you put it because
Well, yeah.
amen.
Yeah, and I went back a month later, and it was, I don't even remember what it was, honestly, but it only gave me, like, one emotion. My hand coulda caught on fire, and I just look at it and go, "Oh, that's cool."
Yep.
And I told my doctor, I said, "I can't take this. I can't take medicine. What do I do? I'm so depressed." She's like, "Okay, well, here's what we're gonna do. You're gonna visualize. You're gonna get up in the morning. I don't care if you have nothing to do all day, but take care of that baby. Um, you're gonna get up, you're gonna shower, you're gonna put makeup on, and if you're just going to the post office, great. If you're going to the grocery store, great.
Right.
You're gonna get up," because I didn't know how to go forward. I
Yep.
knew I needed to go forward, but so, because I said, "I can't take medicine. I can't keep hiding this," you know.
Mm,
It got to be a little much, because when you have to go to the bathroom, and I'm gotten to the point at this point, I can walk by myself and stuff, but it took me a while to use the restroom, and he's like, after 2 minutes, "You okay in there?
right.
What are you
Yeah.
doing in there?" "Trying to take
Hmm.
my medicine, idiot."
You know what's interesting? And I'm gonna get to your final situation that made you say I got to go. But what's interesting about abuse, and I want everybody to listen to this. A lot of times people are thinking of what the abuser is doing to you, and that absolutely is there are things that they do to you
Oh, yeah.
that's abusive, but there are also things that they don't do, right? That they keep from you, or they either whether it's the not speaking to you, or even stuff like what you just said, or not taking care of you, right? Not
Mhm.
helping you get better. I ain't putting my hands on you, but I'm
Right.
not helping you either,
Right.
and that's a part of it too.
And I think that's where a lot of misconception about abuse comes in. It's not just physical. We don't look like the woman on the
Yep,
streetcar named Desire,
yep,
with, the guy with the wife beater t-shirt on. I hate
yep.
that term, by the way.
Yes, me too.
It's not that. All economic levels can be affected.
Absolutely.
And, it's amazing. The I have to say, anytime I've ever talked to a survivor or even one that's still in active abuse, the resourcefulness that they have is amazing. It's amazing because they've had to think outside the box for so long
Yes.
that it's incredible.
And especially when there's babies involved, when there's kids involved.
Exactly.
The
I
ways you
mean,
think, the sacrifices you make, first of all,
mhm,
the sacrifices you make of yourself, but always keeping in sight, how do I protect them until I can figure out how to get out of this thing?
exactly.
That's the part. So tell us. So you had a situation, you had a couple things that you haven't even shared some of the stuff yet that you told me earlier. But we
Right.
go, let's lead up to that, right? There were some things, some scary moments that happened that were physical that involved weapons, right? So there were
Yes.
things that did happen. So let's talk about those things and then that final situation that led you to say, no more. I have got to go.
Well, and I on the types of abuse, what people don't realize is it's not just physical, it is emotional, it's verbal, it is spiritual,
Mm-hmm.
it is financial, as you and
Mm-hmm.
I both know.
And we both know.
Uh, and it can be sexual within a marriage. You can
Yep.
be sexually abused within a marriage,
Yes.
which is rough because when you're trying to explain that to the police, they
Mm.
just look at you like you're crazy.
You're married. What are you talking about?
Yeah,
Right?
that's part of
Give
it,
him his due. Oh, that just
Yeah, I know. So,
Ugh.
and then, you try to be the truthful person in the marriage because they're clearly not being. But, when you tell them something that you kept because it happened way even before you all were, involved of a sexual nature, and
Right.
they try to use that against you.
Yep.
I did not tell him when I was 16 years old I was raped
Yeah.
by a boyfriend.
Yeah.
I didn't even tell my parents when it
Yeah.
happened. And so when Facebook years ago decided to suggest somebody be my friend, it suggested my former rapist.
Yeah.
And I lost my mind and had to tell him, my then husband, that he's like, "Well, did you deserve it? You probably had it
See,
coming." And I'm like,
see, see right there. I'm already ready to wring his neck.
yeah.
Did
Um,
you deserve it?
no, nobody deserves that. And a lot of people don't realize consent is still in play when you're married. So if you go, "You know what?
Yes.
I'm not feeling it," then that's no, you know,
Well,
and
let me repeat that. Let's repeat that. Consent is still at play, even in your marriage.
exactly.
Do not be misled or confused.
It doesn't matter how long term your relationship is.
Thank you. Marriage, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever. If you ain't feeling it, if you are not in the mood, if you say no,
Mhm.
it is still no. And
Right.
I was telling you this earlier, Laura. I was saying how I remember my ex being like, so like we were in this real tense part of the abuse situation. I just was like, I cannot do anything with you. And I remember him being like, so if you don't do this, then you
Find
are
somebody else.
essentially forcing me. He said, you are forcing me to go get it from somewhere else. First of all, he's
Mm.
already doing that. So we ain't got to discuss that. But second of all, I'm not forcing you to do anything. I'm
Mhm.
also not forcing you to treat me like this.
Mhm.
These are all choices that you have made.
Right. At one point, he told me he could replace me in a phone call, and I'm like,
Damn.
"I know. That was harsh." And, of course, afterwards, he's like, "Oh, I didn't really mean that." No, I think he did.
No, you did. Yeah, you did.
After hindsight's 2020, but, so, after finding out what this, former boyfriend had done to me,
Yeah.
he
Let me pull this off. Let me pull this off while you
oh,
say that.
you're
Go
fine.
ahead.
He decided to go ahead and violate me in the same way after getting me a little tipsy on my birthday.
Yeah.
So, if anybody ever goes, "Geez, why doesn't Laura like celebrating her birthday?" I wonder. It's just another day and I'm above ground. That's all I can say.
You know what? And that's the thing about abusers. So y'all check this out, right? So the thing I realize is now he didn't know that. He happened to find your ex happened to find it out because of a trigger from Facebook, right?
Yeah, and I told him it's not anything I ever spoke about to anybody,
To anybody, right? So
anyone.
he found out, and it's what abusive people do. That's what they're looking for. They are looking for what I always call the cracks in the dam.
Mhm.
Where are these things where they can get you emotionally, mentally, psychologically, whatever, and twist you up? So that was one more thing he knew about you that was something that was deep-seated emotional pain for you,
Mhm.
and look how right after that he exploited it. Shortly after that, he
Mhm.
exploited that knowledge.
And then afterwards, I guess, felt like he was entitled to call me a whore, which he used quite frequently a lot. I mean, he threw that word around among others, especially that C word I don't like. Um,
Mm,
no,
mm.
they use anything they can to they weaponize it. They weaponize your own children against you.
Yes, indeed.
So yeah, anything that they can do for control. And that's what I
Yep.
tell people. Abusers don't feel love. All they feel is a need for control because of a
Yes,
lack of control in their own
in
lives.
their own lives.
And what
Laura,
when
when you gonna write this book? When you writing this book? Okay,
um
because
I could probably make a good lifetime movie anyway. I don't
woo,
know. Um but a lot of times people talk about, weakness. Um, they didn't pick us because we're weak. They picked us because we're kind, because we have
mm,
all the things that they don't. They want to embody that, but they don't really want to embody that. They want to control it.
they just want to
Um,
control it.
right. And temper it so they still look like the hero, even though we clearly know that they aren't.
Right. It's like I tell people, it's like they got this darkness in them. I don't
Oh my
know the way
goodness.
to explain it. There's a darkness in them, right? And everything you just mentioned, the kindness, the giving, the
Hmm.
empathy, all those things are light. They're light in us, and they
Mm,
want to take it. It's like I don't know what they're doing with it because at the end of the day, all they do is go to the next one and do the same thing, and then they're
exactly.
not getting filled up. Nothing special, right, is happening for
Well,
them.
and
But
it's
yet,
so odd. Yeah, and I think all abusers should win Academy Awards because in the
mm,
beginning, they just seem like they are everything that we want them to be. They are everything we were looking for, and they're not. They're mirroring what we are.
yep.
That's all they can do. They can't ever maintain it for long periods of time.
Laura, you were saying so much stuff. I have got to give these people watching this. So Nada, first of all, she from Philly. Hey, girl. So that shit always amazes me. She said later on, she says, "Excuse me for the typos." Girl, wouldn't care about that. It always
Mm-mm.
amazes me to what extent they will go through to make
Mhm.
someone else miserable.
Right.
Once someone gets out, I feel like the abuser should their abusive relationship. Wait a minute, hold on. The abuser should be made to live in the
Mm,
same manner they force someone else to live.
exactly.
Can we make that happen? I just want that to be like a new law. It's like,
You
um,
know, I there's part of me I agree with that, and I know where you're coming from because right
yeah,
when you get out, you're so angry.
you're so
But,
angry.
you know, I people say, "Well, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that?" I didn't wanna stoop to the level that he slunk to, I guess, that, I'm not gonna show somebody I have no desire to hurt somebody. I have no
That's your
desire.
character. It's not your character.
Yeah, and it's just
Yeah.
I'm not gonna stoop to that level.
Yep.
Would I love to see somebody treat him the way that he treated me? The instant part of me would go, "Yeah, I wanna see that
Yeah.
happen." But then again, I wouldn't wish that on anybody.
Let me say something. The only reason why, let me say what I gotta say. The only reason why I'm gonna agree with you is because we have a child.
Yes.
Otherwise, poof be gone.
If it was just man and wife, no children,
Poof be gone.
I think I probably would have a different opinion, but, these little people that we raise, and even though 2 of mine are adults, but these little people that we raise, they're watching us constantly, and
Exactly.
what I didn't realize is I should have gotten out sooner because my kids deserve to see me happier while
Yep.
I was trying to maintain this facade
Yep.
because I didn't want them to come from a quote unquote "broken home,"
Yep.
but it was already broken,
Yeah. But
and
this, go ahead.
they children deserve to see their parent that they live with happy, and
Yep.
even the other parent, even if it's not even domestic violence, if it's divorce, if you tried everything to make it work and it's not gonna work, they deserve to see 2 happy parents versus 2 miserable parents together.
Yeah.
But, I
Yep. I
mean,
agree.
if it's the man abusing the woman, that man is teaching girls what kind of partner to accept and boys how to treat their partners, and that's not acceptable.
I'm gonna tell you something that I frustrates me that people say, and I'm gonna say this. People used to always say to me, "Well, but he didn't hurt her, did he? Right? He didn't
But
do this."
yeah.
But I'm like, "Did you not hear what I just told you happened? It happened in front of her. And first of
That's
all,
that's
if
hurtful.
if this is being done to her mother, it's
Mhm.
being done to her.
Exactly.
Because
By proxy.
how can I possibly give her my best
Mhm.
if I am mentally, physically, emotionally, financially, spiritually, if all of that stuff
Bent.
is happening, how could I possibly be a good mom to her? And then she's hearing it. She's
Mhm.
being brought into those conversations.
Exactly.
Anybody that listen, I understand what you're asking. You're asking, did he hit her? Is that if that's what you're asking? Not you, but people. You're
Right.
asking, did he hit her? The answer is no. But if you're asking if he abused her as well, the answer is yes. That's
It's
the answer.
abuse. It's abuse
It's abuse.
by proxy.
Thank you, because she
Mhm.
witnessed it. So that's not healthy. So
No, and I got to the point where I didn't go anywhere because I was afraid he might abuse the kids on the very few occasions I did go somewhere, whether I had to go to the grocery store, I had to go out of town for work.
yeah.
He was abusing my children too.
Ah,
Um, so, it's just because you're there 98% of the time doesn't mean they won't do something 2% of the time.
yeah,
Because they've gotta maintain control in that household, especially
absolutely.
when, you're at the point where some of your children are turning into adults or they're getting to be teenagers. I mean, teenage boys are very protective of their mothers.
Mm,
Mine was,
mm,
and he
mm,
wasn't,
mm, mm.
wasn't about to see. I've had to get in between my abuser and my children when they were fighting, and then
That's
I took a
scary.
beating later.
That's scary.
Yeah, because
That's
we would jump in front of a train for these children. Um
absolutely.
and I mean, I've gotten into where I got in between my then husband and my daughter, and that was his favorite child. I think she still is. I don't know. Um, but I got hit in the side of the head so badly. He dislocated my eardrum. It did not repair back right, and I only have 36% in one ear and 73% in the other.
See, see,
So so I have literally lost my hearing over trying to keep my child safe. So
and then
it's
there's and you told me there's other things still wrong with you today. Like my next question on here is, what did it cost you, right? What did domestic violence cost you mentally, emotionally, physically, financially, spiritually, sexually? You what did it cost you, right? You just
oh,
mentioned something that thank God I don't have any leftover like scars like that, right? I don't have anything like that.
I mean, I have hearing aids. That's one of the reasons why I have the job I have now because they had a disability quota that they had to meet, and technically I'm disabled. So,
Yeah.
but um, it did cost me. It cost me my self esteem. It cost me. I now have anxiety and PTSD.
Oh,
So I mean, the worst thing, one of the worst things was the final episode where he discharged a gun. He shot at me. He didn't shoot me. He shot at me. So if
that
you've never had a gun discharged next to you, thank goodness for
I
that. But
never have. I've
it's
shot it,
loud.
shot at a pumpkin or whatever, right? But
Yeah,
nothing shot
exactly. But you
at me.
usually have those earbud
Yeah.
things on or the little things, but um, and I still have a hole in the wall in my bedroom. Um, you know, I think his intention, that was the day prior to the final incident. I think his intention was he was working up the courage to kill me.
He was working up, yeah, he absolutely was. He was
So,
getting more and more like what's the word I'm looking for? Sadistic, more vile,
mhm.
more whatever.
I mean, he would, before physical abuse got bad, I mean, he was beating on my dogs to make a point on something they did. Like if somebody had an accident, oops, it's not. I mean, it's not something you want, but it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
Um,
Clean it up.
yeah, or I had a German Shepherd Rottweiler that he knew he was tall enough to grab something off the counter, and he beat that dog with a frying pan to the point where my dog had a stroke, and I had to take this big 85-pound baby to the vet to put him down. So it's just it costs a lot, and then what people don't realize, the physical's bad, but the physical does
Mm,
heal. Bruises heal, although I learned how to be quite the makeup artist.
mm,
Broken bones and things heal, but there's something after you've been in a stressful situation where you've been in fight and flight mode forever. Once you get to relax, once you're out, you start relaxing and going, this, I'm free, then your nerves go, nope, nope, you're
Nope.
not.
No, you're not.
I now have fibromyalgia. And, I never saw the correlation until my doctor talked to me about it. She goes, I think this is what you're going through because you feel
Mm.
like you're totally on fire, your whole entire body. It's because your nerves are inflamed because you're not being hyper vigilant and staying, tensed up all the time. So now I have to take medication for that. Now I have chronic pain.
Wow.
Um, and then a lot of people don't realize strangulation. He's I've been strangled a few times, but to the point where it has damaged how I breathe. So
Yep.
if you're sitting here talking to me and I go, I'm trying to catch up on my breathing. You're not boring me.
Yep.
But it to the outside person, it sounds like a sigh, like, ugh,
Mm.
can you hurry this up, kind of thing. But I,
Man.
people don't realize that. They don't realize, because I was strangled, the final incident, and it got a concussion. I got a minor traumatic brain injury, but a brain bleed um, during the final incident. And, the concussion and the strangulation, I had black eyes. I looked like, I don't know, like an owl. Like I had really big
Mhm.
eyes. And
Mhm.
it's bad when the ER person comes in and I'm in the ER to be seen and with my daughter. And he takes one look at me and says, "You've been strangled, haven't you?" And I said, "I guess. I think
Yeah,
so. I
like, I
don't,
don't wanna say yeah.
I'm confused at that point. I was there more for my daughter than I was myself. I didn't realize how bad I looked. Um,
Listen, this is a lot, even hearing it. Like, and then
mhm,
here's the thing, y'all know me, I'm talking to the crowd now. I prep for these things. I talk to my survivors. I talk to my guests in advance, and we have these prep conversations, but it I swear it doesn't matter how many times I hear this or even that I hear it in advance.
mhm,
When you're saying it, even now, like, and I'm putting myself in your I can't really do that, but you know what I'm trying to say? I'm
mhm,
picturing the moment for you.
right.
And that's just a lot. Like, it's just I was telling you before, I haven't been strangled that way where like two hands are around my throat like that. My thing was from the side in the headlock, and I'm like trying to catch
Mhm.
my breath. It's
It's
just
it's natural, and what you did was totally natural. Well, and I'm not trying to be gross or perverse, but I know whenever we were intimate, he would kind of, do that. I don't but then again, when you start thinking back, you're like, "I think he was practicing. I think he was
yeah, like
practicing to do that." But, I mean, there have been 2 incidences that I know of where he tried to strangle me, and the police were involved. And the one prior and then this one. But, he he beat me at first in front of my then 10-year-old child. Now this child is 15.
mhm,
So that got the prosecutor in our county involved.
yeah,
But thankfully, my middle child took her little brother somewhere
mhm,
to a friend's house. And then when they were gone, he trapped me in our bedroom. And that's where he beat my head against the floor until I was unconscious. And when I gained consciousness, he picked me up by my throat and tried to strangle me. So it makes it, and it's so weird. I think it's neat how the human body has this ability to detach. So you
yeah,
look like you're watching, it's almost like you're watching this happen to yourself, like you're watching a
yeah,
television show.
yeah.
And that's the way that I remember it. But I was trying to get away from him when I got unconscious. But and
Um,
then my oldest one came home and got him between he and I, and that's he had called the police on the way back to the
yeah,
house. So he then it was at that point that I couldn't do it anymore. This was just
yeah.
too much. When you
Listen,
have
y'all,
when you have four
this
cop
is
cars come up to your house and six police officers get out.
this is Laura, y'all, and I know again the flyers been out there. You if you've been on for a while, you kind of get it, but this is a woman who is God created her to be a writer, right? Like we're gonna talk about that in a second because it's already 8 o'clock. So I told you before I could talk to you all night. Um, just to hear the different pieces of the story, and I know we're getting this much of a 23-year situation, right? We're only
Right,
getting this much tonight because
right,
we can only do the highlights, or if you say the low lights, maybe I don't know what you call them,
right.
right?
Bullet
So,
points. Mm,
but like, so it's like, gosh, I mean, and the conversation was also about strength. So here you are in a situation where you marry someone who is nothing like he pretended he was in the beginning. You've got
Nothing.
kids. You are trying to figure out, how do I mother these children in this situation? The financial abuse, we never really got into that, but that's okay. All the things that happen that make it very difficult for a victim of domestic violence to just pick up and leave. You were also for a time separated from your family. You had gone quite a ways away from your family. So there was your support system. We just
Exactly.
trying to paint this picture because, yeah, Laura looks like a typical woman, right? Angelique looks like a typical woman, but we've got stories, and we present our stories to the world to say, listen, this is also what domestic violence looks like.
Mhm.
Thank God we sit and we speak and we tell
Right.
our stories, because we're trying to prevent this from happening all the time. We're trying, if you're listening, you've never been through it, we pray you never go through it.
Ever.
If
None of it.
you're in it, we want you to get out, because what we're trying to tell you is these stories pretty much end the same.
Mhm.
And what you don't want them to end up in is death. And Laura was very close to that.
Mhm.
So thank God for your life. People have said it a few times on here. Thank God for your life and for your testimony, because you are sitting here telling this story. And I'm like, what? Like, even still, I'm like, now where is he at? Can we find him on the corner and like pull him into an alley? Like,
Yeah, there's quite a line of people that would like that opportunity
pull him into
too.
an alley somewhere,
Right.
dressed in all black like the omen. So, all right. So you jumped. Your story did not end there.
Right.
You are on and have been on a journey to healing. And there are some things you've been doing to make that happen. So, what kind of things were you doing to heal, and that you're doing even today?
Um, I started therapy pretty close to right away.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, I live in a rural area, and the only therapist that was available to me was a man, very nice man, very capable. But we got to a point in my therapy where he was like, "Well, you've danced around this whole topic. You're going to have
Yep.
to tell me what he did to you,
Yep.
on what abuses you endured." And I said, "I'm sorry, you're great, but you're
Hmm.
a man, and I can't sit there and tell you something that another man did to me." No offense, and he wasn't
Yep.
he wasn't offended by that at all,
Yep.
which shows what a great person he is.
Yeah. He got it. He got the point.
He did, and just in this little tiny rural area, he said, "Well, I don't have any female therapists available for like 3, 4 months." And,
Right.
I live strategically between Cincinnati, Louisville, and Indianapolis, and that sounds
Yeah.
great and all, but the closest city is at least an hour away. I don't wanna have to go an hour in one direction to spend an hour talking to somebody and then drive an hour back. I don't have that kind of time. I don't have the gas money. So that was kind of out of the question.
Yeah.
So after I did therapy for a while, he said, "Okay." He goes, "I don't blame you.
Yep.
Do me a favor. You need to journal. You need to get it out."
Yep.
Right. He said, "You love writing. That's one of the things that you do. Do that."
Yeah.
He's, and he knew the prosecutor's office had made me speak to a local high school. Well, they didn't make me, but they asked me to very strongly. So, and then I felt better after I did that. He said, "Maybe you need to talk about your story. Don't name your abuser, but talk about it, own it,
Yes.
because the more that you speak it, the less of a hold it has on you." And
Amen to that.
that's really resonated with me. He's right. Um, because as soon as the final episode happened, I told my parents everything, because they only got little bits of things that
Hmm.
happened
Yep.
along the way. They knew things were not right. Moms and dads know. They had
I
this,
know.
this sense. But I had to tell them the whole thing, all of it from beginning to end. I think I talked to my parents for like 4 hours on the phone. And of course I think I made them both cry, but I mean, they didn't even know about the rape. I told them that too. I mean, I was like, "I'm not keeping anything from you guys anymore. I
Yeah.
can't. I'm just, I feel like a sponge and I'm spent. I need to be wrung out, because I have too much in
Mm,
here,
mm.
bouncing around between my ears, because it's normal when you're thinking about it, but when you tell somebody else and they have this horrified look on their face, you're like, that sounds just as or even more insane than I thought it would sound." It didn't
Yep.
sound insane bouncing around in my brain, but it is insane,
It is insane,
the stuff that we
right?
endured and put up with and been through.
Oh my
So,
gosh. Listen, you see I put your blog up there,
I
right?
did. I did.
Let's talk about that. Share a little bit about that. Tell people what you got going on here.
Well, I'm notorious for misplacing journals. I'll journal for a couple days and go, I have no idea what I did with my journal. So I decided to start. Well, first I started an inspirational Facebook page, and I started calling what I was doing the Walking Wounded. But a lot of times that has to do with veterans, and I
Yeah.
didn't want to offend any veterans because
Yep.
they've definitely been through a lot too. So I kind
So
of
now, right
clarified.
now, you're talking about the Facebook page.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
And I clarified it, but called it DV Walking Wounded.
Yeah.
DV standing for domestic violence
Yep.
because we fought in a battle too.
Yep.
It was behind our own closed doors in a place that we were supposed to be safe.
Yep.
It was a war zone, and people
Yep.
had no idea.
Yep.
So that's why I called it that. I post all kinds of inspirational things about survivors and about people who are being victimized and narcissistic abuse and the DV hotline. And I mean, anything and everything that has to do with
Yeah.
sexual abuse, trafficking, and all that. Well, then I thought about, I see all these people that have these awesome pages and they also have blogs. Maybe I ought to do that. So
Mm-hmm.
then I started a blog on WordPress, and I called that the DV Walking Wounded. And for the longest time, it was dvwalkingwounded.wordpress.com. And I thought, that's not very
Sure. Yeah, it's not right.
memorable. So I went ahead and paid for a monthly subscription. I pay for this out of my own pocket.
Yep.
It's dvwalkingwounded.me, and I was going to pick .com, but it's not commercial. It's
Yep.
something personal. It happened to
Yep.
me, and I liked the
Yep.
.me. So
Yep.
what I do, it's a blog for abuse victims, survivors, their support people, anybody. I'm just talking about. I'm on the other side of abuse, but
Right.
it's not ever totally over. I have
Yep.
to not, thankfully, not co-parent, but I have to parent with. We still have a minor child
Right.
with my abuser. So, I talk about that. I talk about, things that trigger me um, every day. I
Mm.
mean, every day. I mean, I think in my job, I talk to probably 3 domestic violence survivors or even people that are in active abuse a week.
I know
So
you're like, God, I wish I could just fix it for
I
you, right?
know. Um,
Ah,
but and I've what's been getting me lately is elderly people calling in and little old ladies with a cat, and they don't know how they're gonna make it, and they only get $600 a month, and I'm just like, "Oh my gosh."
right. Like,
But, you know, I just that triggers me, I mean, to
mm.
wonder, how did they get there? Did somebody abuse them? Did somebody take all of that away?
And you know what? Family members do it too. To elderly
They
people,
do, and that's part of domestic abuse. Elder abuse is a part of
elder
it.
abuses, yes.
Child abuse is a part of domestic abuse. Domestic abuse is just a big general term. When we're
Yep.
talking about what I went through intimate partnered violence.
Intimate partner violence, yes.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't realize that, and I think we need to talk about it more.
Yep.
Trafficking is a form of domestic abuse. So I started this blog and started writing, and the more that I write, I mean, he never would let me write, and I love to write. I started off as a
He knew that was
journalism
your
major.
he knew that was a part of your healing. He knew
It
that's
is.
how you healed and that's how you express yourself. He
It
needed to silence you,
exactly.
period. And that's what he was doing.
So I've started blogging. If I get up and I can't sleep at 2 a.m. and I want to write something down, I do.
Right.
And it's great. I love it. And um what's great is having, a significant other that sends me stuff, hey, you need to put this on your page, kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That's amazing in itself, that
Yeah.
I didn't think would ever happen. And I had come
I
to
love
terms with
this.
that. I was fine with it. But
I
it's
love it. Laura,
it's
I'm glad she's got her blog. Y'all listen, she's got her blog. I put this in the comments 85,000 times. Laura can't see all this, but I've got the blog and the Facebook page, the blog and the Facebook page. Like, you can't tell me that you don't see this on here, okay? So take some time, go out, contribute, like her stuff, read her stuff, share her stuff. I mean, listen, we know how social media works. Use it, right? She's on here telling you this story not because she wants it to be some sensational thing, but because it's needed. We need to talk about this stuff. It is so dark and so silent and so secretive that's a part of how it keeps going. Are y'all listening? That's a part of how it keeps going. But you know what? I'm going to expose what I can without saying names, right, Laura? Without saying
Exactly.
names, we're going to expose what we can because we both agreed women don't talk enough about the stuff.
No.
We don't share enough about what's going on. Well, guess what? This podcast is called Silent No More. We are silent no more because it is the silence that helps keep this thing going forward. We need to stop this train before it gets all the way down the track. So
Exactly.
go check out her blog. Go check out her Facebook page. Like it, share it, comment, all those things. We're doing this not just for ourselves. Yes, it is part of our healing, but we're also doing it for all of you, even the
Exactly.
ones we don't know.
And I've had so many. I'm now a certified domestic violence advocate. I
Yep.
just kind of do it on my own.
Yep.
Um, I've had people reach out to me. How can we make this happen? How can we change? How can we change what's going on? How can we make abusers more accountable? That is all really good questions. So
Yep.
I started, same time I was going through my abuse, we had something in the same county with the same judge, another lady named Laura, spelled the same
Hmm.
way. Her name is Laura
Hmm.
Russell. She did everything right. She got away from her abuser.
Mm.
She and he had gotten locked up again. The judge let him go on a technicality because he didn't really have enough information to hold him. The man got free, went to her house and killed her, and then killed himself. And it's called Laura's Law. They tried to pass it, but it just did not. It didn't make it through legislation. So one of the things that I wanted to do, I wanted to revive that because I got to meet this lady one time. She seems very nice.
Yep.
Our children were in 4-H together, and
Yep.
her daughter is now just recently got engaged, and she won't have her mother and her father given her away because of
Mm.
domestic violence.
Mm.
And I want to make sure that we hold those users accountable, that we can make it safer for survivor victims to get out. She didn't get to. She tried.
We tried.
And it gives me goosebumps every time I talk about her, but it's just I didn't have the opportunity to meet her or know her, and I won't. And she's going to miss out on her daughter's wedding and her
Mm.
grandbabies and things. And I don't, thankfully, don't have to, but I'm glad that if I can do a little something,
Yep.
so I did a petition on change.org, and I even sent it to the state representative, and 2 hours within me sending it, he contacted me on Facebook, and he is
Mhm.
trying to make that a reality. And I'm excited about that
I love that.
because, all states, and we're all different. We have different challenges and different loopholes and things. Abusers have way too many loopholes to get out of things, and
Way too many.
if they get held accountable one way, they will find another. They'll
Weasel their
use,
way.
yeah, like financial or something about the house. No, they're not going to sign it over to the victim because they don't have to, so they're going to
They don't have
force
to.
them out, or
Mhm.
something ridiculous like that. So I
Lord,
can,
mm,
you
we
know,
appreciate you.
whatever you can do. And I have things on my blog, places to message me if you need assistance, if somebody needs to contact somebody. I have
Right.
ways of getting through to me, and people can find me on Facebook by my name, or the group,
Yep.
the DV Walking Wounded, and just making it accessible for people to find help.
So that's the blog, y'all. If you haven't seen it, I'm just putting it back up here. This is the Facebook page. Where is it? Hold on, right there. Your Facebook page. So please, y'all, support this stuff. These messages. First of all, thank y'all for being on here with us tonight. I know it's getting late. So I'm gonna ask Laura the last question, but we just appreciate all of the support. Her Facebook page, her blog, even Laura's blog that she is supporting. It's another Laura, but still has to do with domestic violence. So if you can change.org, I signed the petition today. I was like, I'm signing this thing today because there's so many women all over the country losing their lives because of stuff like this.
Hmm.
So I thank you. I just thank you. So what's your final thoughts? We got to go. It's 8:14. What final thought or thoughts would you like to share with the audience, whether you want to speak to victims and survivors or to the family and friends of victims and survivors? What would you like to say?
If you're going through abuse, active abuse, do what's best for your situation. Be safe. If you're a survivor, thank God for that. But that you need to be hyper vigilant too, because once you get out, that is the most dangerous time. And if anybody supports anybody that is being victimized or has gone through it, they may go back to their abuser.
Right.
Don't write them off. Be understanding. They're going to need you again. They're just so trauma bonded. They have no idea that it's going to get worse.
Mm,
Just do what you can to help keep them safe.
yes.
And, you know, that's really all I know to say.
Yeah.
Safety first.
Safety first. And
Safety
because the
always.
truth is, everyone is quick to say, we talked about this earlier, everyone's quick to say, leave, get out. But they don't understand what you just said, which is the one of the most dangerous periods of time is right after a victim gets away. And that could
Exactly.
be for up to 2 years after they get away. Could
Exactly.
be very dangerous. So don't be in a rush, everyone, to tell people to just leave. A lot of times a victim knows her situation and how close she is to death or life way better than the people on the outside who are looking in. And there's kids to consider, animals to
Exactly.
consider, finances to
Exactly.
consider, all these things to consider. Her job, what her money, how do I survive?
Yeah, and one thing, and if you don't understand what domestic violence is, or you are wanting to know more, if you want to help,
Yeah,
there's a pandemic within a pandemic right now.
yeah.
Definitely all the help we can get. But please be kind because you have no idea what battles people are
Mm,
fighting behind closed doors.
you have no idea. You are phenomenal. Let me just speak a couple words into her life right now. Laura, the things you're writing, the things that God has for you to do, whatever it is that might be in the way, you have got to figure out how to clear the path for what you are supposed to do. Whatever it is, you
Hmm.
clear the path. We talk about starting strong in 2022. That's my phrase for you. Clear the path so that you can
I
get stuff done.
I definitely am trying to. I'm trying to make my blog self-sufficient
Yeah.
because I want it to reach as many people as possible. God blessed me this year, and I found out by accident. FeedSpot goes through over 1,500 domestic
Yeah.
violence websites internationally, and they
Hmm.
list the top 45, and mine is number 23. I was just impressed as heck. I
You
was
didn't
like,
tell me that.
I
Woo!
didn't know what to do. I mean, it's not really an award, but it is
It is.
because I'm above like British publications and things, so it's like, wow, I had no idea.
Yes.
So it's really, really an honor. And, I thought, oh, wow, what do I need to do to get, up further? Okay, well,
Right.
I'm going to write some more. Maybe I need to write every day. And I thought, no, I'm going to burn myself out. But, 2 to 3 times a week, I try to write, and sometimes, the life gets in the way, and I try to, like with, Betty White dying, I wrote an entry about that, and she didn't undergo domestic abuse. She had a very beautiful marriage, but,
Yeah.
it connected in a way to me. I don't know. It's the way my mind is wired, but anyway.
I gotta say one more comment because I missed it earlier, but I want to make sure you saw it.
Mhm,
The person was very happy to hear what your experience was growing up. And here's what Sophie says. She said, wow, more helpful information. She had a good example of how marriage was supposed to look like.
mhm.
You still end up in domestic violence relationship, right? So
Yes.
don't think it's just this way.
Mm-mm,
This is the only way people get into these situations, or she must have been abused when she was a child, or
mhm.
no, y'all. There's no respecter of persons here. It can happen to any of us.
Abusers lie. I
And
was lied
abusers
to,
lie.
you know,
So
and I
so
was trying to keep
yes,
my marriage together. I wanted what my parents have, and
yeah.
that's not
Look at
my.
that.
Yeah,
Look at that.
I couldn't ever mold him. You can't.
And think about
Yeah,
your spiritual foundation too, right? So that may have
exactly.
also been a played a part. So, all right, it is 8:19. Laura, you are the best. All right, so we're gonna let everybody go. It is a wonderful night. It's a wonderful new year. I am still just excited and happy and grateful for this evening. I will catch y'all next week. I haven't decided if I'm going to bring a guest on or do something by myself because I kind of want to do something by myself next week. I got some specific things I'm thinking of, but we will see. All right, so listen. You stay well.
You too.
I am happy that you have found someone else that supports
Absolutely.
you and
He's
supports your mission.
awesome. He
God
is.
is good.
He is
Thank
all the
you,
time.
Lord.
All the time.
All right, let's keep in touch, beautiful.
All right.
All
Thank
right,
you
good
for
night,
having me.
everybody.
Bye
Good
bye.
night.